Welcome to the PSAV Inspiration Cafe. If you're a technology junkie or believe in interconnectedness, you're in luck, because I'm joined today by Patrick Payne, who's CEO of Quickmobile. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Just if you would tell us a little bit, your company elevator speech, a little bit about Quickmobile.
Sure. Quickmobile is a mobile event application provider. So what we do is we take what would typically be printed, like a printed program guide. We take all of those elements and we put them into a format so that they can be used on mobile smartphones. And they become interactive, they become searchable, they become dynamic. There's a lot of rich content that all of a sudden becomes available, so we can take that static program guide and really make it come to life and add a lot more value to it.
So we don't see meeting attendees walking around with a big thing under their arm?
Yeah, well, typically, yeah, they show up at the meeting, they get a bag full of paper and whatnot, and they walk around, and they get home, and that sits there for a few months, and then before you know it, they go through it, maybe take 1 or 2 pages out and throw it all away. And that's actually a very, important part of this offering is that you can reduce a tremendous amount of paper when you use these mobile devices to provide this service.
And people are, I guess, meeting attendees in particular, but people in general are becoming accustomed to that. Is that not the case, where I don't expect you to give me a big thing, why don't you just put it on my phone?
That's right. The expectation has really shifted, I'd say. In the last 2 years, we're seeing a huge trend toward moving away from paper and static program guides to these interactive dynamic guides. And I think a lot of meeting planners are certainly trying to reduce their ecological footprint, so to speak, and this is a great way to sort of have a sustainable meeting as well.
Are these apps, and I know you have a relationship with PSAV, which we'll talk about, but are the apps customizable? So when a meeting, there'd be a unique app for this meeting versus this meeting versus this meeting?
Yeah, they are. Typically what happens is the brand for that particular organization is quite important, and their unique requirements are actually quite important as well, in that they want to have specific functionality and features and maybe unique branding for that particular meeting. So for the most part, what we've been seeing is each app is branded and customized for that particular event.
And lives only during the period of that event and then goes away?
Well, actually...
Glad you asked that, Bill.
I'm glad you asked that, because what's happening now is a lot of companies and organizations are really looking at how do we change that 3 or 4 day event experience into a year-long conversation, and how do we communicate with our constituents, with our community, year-round. And so a lot of these event apps are a stepping stone toward membership apps and community sort of communications types apps as well.
You'd mentioned that there were three things people go to meetings for: to network, to get leads, sell product, and get education. And I think you feel that mobile does all those things, serves all those.
Yeah, it's a great enabler for all 3 of those things. And people are using mobile devices for all those things right now anyway. And so the event just happens to be a great catalyst to bring people together and to make use of all that technology to do that.
So I know the design will change depending on the application, but if I open up a meeting app through PSAV that you've created, what kind of things will I see on the screen? What kind of functions will I get?
Typically what you'll see is an attendee list, so a list of the people that are there, so you can see...
And that's constantly updated as people register?
And that's being updated. It's in real time, so if someone shows up even a day late for the event, the printed program, basically 3 weeks ago you had to have it printed, but you can do it in real time, and you can add that person to the list virtually immediately. You'll see a speaker list. There's usually a list of the sponsors, and sometimes there's features that the sponsors may want, like a video or things like that they may want to promote their whatever it is that their service is or whatever their product is. There's typically venue maps and things, so what's how people navigate around through the event itself, or through the convention center, or wherever it is at the hotel. There are lots of other sort of social networking types of things. Like we have connections to Facebook and Twitter and sometimes even LinkedIn. And there's messaging components, so people can very easily send a message to someone at the conference. They don't even necessarily have to look them up by their name. They can find by company or something like that and then send them a message. And there are sometimes GPS services so that you can see where exactly you are and how to get to a venue. Like maybe there's an off-site party at a restaurant or something, so those kinds of things, mapping services. And quite a few other types of things as well that come up depending on what the needs are of that particular event.
So the meeting host, the client, would be able to design those functions, whatever is unique to that meeting.
Sure.
Is it scalable? So if I'm a small association, or if I have small meetings, regardless of size, I can. There's an app that'll fit my requirement.
You know, it was funny because we used to think, well, gee, maybe you need to have 500 or 600 people at a meeting before it really makes sense to have it. But we did an event for a large organization in their CIO group. So it was their global CIOs from around the world. There were 175 of them. They gave them each an iPad, and it was a very interesting
CIOs
experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so it was. There was a lot of interaction between the audience and the panelists. So they took questions from the floor, and the panelists would answer them. And they had a animator that was there that was whiteboarding. And so when someone was giving their speech, they would whiteboard. Someone in the background would whiteboard the entire speech, and then a few hours later, you could actually download a capture of that whiteboard. Off the whiteboard. So it was a way to sort of capture notes and things like that. So, and there's a lot of different types of functions like that people are using. A little note so that people can take notes during an event, and then you don't have to pull out your notebook later. You've still got it on your mobile device. It's interesting because there's really a shift in the way people are thinking about it. It used to be kind of a networked way of thinking of it. So you used to think, well, I'll go check my computer and see if I got any new emails. But now that's happening in real time. So those messages are happening as they are participating in that event. And so that's what we call connected behavior. And what we've seen is a huge shift in the way people change their behavior as a result of being connected as opposed to networked. So people are really demanding information in real time, and they expect to be able to respond and collaborate in real time.